Every good horror story seems to start on a dark and stormy night, doesn't it? Well, this one is no different. In this explainer, we're going to break down what happens when the very last bus home decides to take you somewhere else entirely. So let's start with this question. What happens when your last bus isn't your last? I mean, just imagine it. You're exhausted after a long day, you're just desperate to get home, and then you see those headlights cutting through the pouring rain. You feel this wave of relief wash over you. But what if that bus isn't the sanctuary you think it is? And that brings us to section 1, a tired night. You know, this is the setup. It all begins, like so many strange tales do, with just a completely ordinary, routine night, where all you want is to be in your own bed. So let's meet our main character, TThe. It is late, way later than he wanted to be at the office, and a massive thunderstorm is just raging outside. He's sprinting through the streets, getting completely soaked, and his only thought, his only goal is to catch that final bus. He sees it pulling away, but with one last burst of energy, he makes it. He practically collapses through the doors just as they're about to close. Now here's the thing, everything seems perfectly normal. You got TThe, a typical commuter, tired after a long day. The bus, it's completely empty. So he sinks into his favorite spot, that corner seat by the window. The sound of the rain drumming on the roof is actually kind of soothing, and he finally lets himself relax. The day is finally over. Or so he thinks. Okay, now things take a turn. Welcome to section 2, a strange journey. This is the point where TThe's normal, everyday reality starts to, well, unravel. TThe just drifts off to sleep, just for a second. But when his eyes snap back open, we're talking maybe 2 minutes later, the entire scene has changed. That empty bus is now completely packed. I mean, standing room only. He's groggy, he's confused, he doesn't even remember the bus making a stop. So yeah, you can imagine what's going through his head. Where did all these people come from? How did so many passengers get on at one stop without him hearing a thing? But he's so tired, he just chalks it up to exhaustion. My mind's playing tricks on me, he probably tells himself. And with that, he closes his eyes again. The next time he wakes up, it happens all over again, but in reverse. The crowd, gone. The bus is dead silent, completely empty, exactly like it was when he first got on. Okay, now that little feeling of unease was starting to grow into real dread. No stops were made, there were no announcements. This just isn't possible. Right? Where did they all disappear? It just makes no logical sense. And as TThe is grappling with this impossible thought, something else cuts through his confusion. The sharp, unmistakable smell of a bidi. One of those hand-rolled cigarettes, just hanging heavy in the air. He turns his head, and his reality has shifted yet again. Before, he was alone on a quiet bus. Now, a frail old man is sitting right next to him, his face a web of wrinkles, and his eyes seem to just pierce right through the darkness. TThe is totally unnerved, but he asks him, "Hey, did you see that crowd of people that just vanished?" The old man takes a slow drag from his bidi and replies with this chilling calmness. 30 years. Just let that sink in for a second. For this old man, this isn't some weird one-time thing. This is his nightly routine. And what he says next just confirms TThe's growing fear. The old man basically tells him that he's broken some kind of unwritten rule. Then he leans in a little closer and shares a story of his own from about a year ago on this exact bus during a storm just like this one. He says he saw a man whose eyes were just completely empty, like he had no soul. And that's the heart of the warning that TThe's getting right now. But even after hearing all this, his rational mind is still trying to fight back. He tries to dismiss it as just a dream or maybe just a tall tale from a strange old man. He tells himself it's just the storm, just the exhaustion. It's all getting to him. And that brings us to our third section, encounter with fear. Because all of those rationalizations, they're about to come to a screeching halt. TThe is about to come face to face with the terrifying truth of this bus. Yeah, that overwhelming fatigue got to him, and he dozed off one last time. When he wakes up, the bus is shrouded in this heavy, unnatural silence. He's alone again. The old man has completely vanished. No trace, not even the lingering smell of smoke. And his heart just starts hammering against his ribs. Something is so wrong. And then he sees him. I mean, think about how weird this is. It's 1 in the morning on a deserted bus, and some guy is just sitting up front, calmly reading a newspaper like it's the morning rush hour, and his face is completely hidden. Tushar's voice is trembling, but he just has to know who this is. He calls out. At first, nothing. Just the eerie silence on the bus and the constant drumming of the rain. And then, slowly, very deliberately, the man starts to lower the newspaper. And what Tushar sees it's pure nightmare fuel. The man's face is just a ruin, caked in dried blood, with part of his skull visibly crushed in. But the worst part, the absolute worst part, are his eyes. They're empty, just vacant. A scream gets stuck in Tushar's throat, and he slams his eyes shut, trying to unsee what he just saw.
Suddenly, a cold hand grips his shoulder. Tushar flinches, forces his eyes open, and the horror just gets worse. The man is now right there, in front of him. But his face, it's completely normal. It's clean, and he has this light, almost mocking smile on his lips. The whiplash is terrifying.
The man's voice is so calm, it's almost playful. He tells Tushar to forget what he saw, warns him that he shouldn't stay on the bus. But before he can even finish his sentence, poof, he's not in the seat anymore. He's standing at the open door of the moving bus. And then he just jumps. Tushar hears this sickening crash and a scream echoing from the darkness outside. This is the absolute breaking point, and it brings us to our final section, the bus's real truth. This is where that immediate jump scare terror fades away and is replaced by something much, much worse. A horrifying revelation. Tushar doesn't even think this is it. This is his one and only chance. As if by some miracle, the bus actually starts to slow down for a real stop. He scrambles for the door and just leaps out into the cold, hard rain, not even daring to look back until his feet are planted firmly on the pavement. So there he is, standing on the sidewalk, drenched and shaking, and he turns to watch the bus drive off into the night. And for the first time, his eyes see what's really there. It's not a normal city bus. It's a mangled, half-burnt wreck of a vehicle. And through the shattered windows, he sees that it's packed with people again. Only this time, he sees them for what they are, the silent, staring dead. And from one of the broken windows, both the newspaper man and the old man look back at him, faint, knowing smiles on their faces, before the wreck finally disappears into the darkness. Tushar was left completely alone at that bus stop, his terrifying journey finally over. But it really leaves us with one final chilling question to think about. He might have gotten off the bus, but when you escape a nightmare like that, are you ever truly awake again? Or are you just left on the side of the road, forever waiting for the next ghost bus to come around the corner?